Pakistan has a long and complicated history of borrowing from the International Monetary Fund, IMF, since it became a member in the IMF is an organization that provides financial assistance to countries facing economic difficulties, such as balance of payments problems, debt crises, or currency devaluations. The IMF also imposes certain conditions on its borrowers, such as fiscal reforms, monetary policies, or structural adjustments, to ensure that they can repay their loans and restore their economic stability. Pakistan's relationship with the IMF can be divided into 4 periods. The early years, 1950 to 1988, the democratic era, 1988 to 1999, the military rule and transition, 1999 to 2013, and the recent challenges, 2013 present. In the early years, Pakistan sought IMF loans for the first time in 1958, when it faced a balance of payments crisis due to its heavy dependence on imports and low export earnings. The IMF provided Pakistan with a standby arrangement of $25 million, which was a short-term loan to cover temporary gaps in foreign exchange reserves. Pakistan again approached the IMF in 1965, 1968, 1972, 1973, and 1974 for similar reasons, receiving a total of $421 million in standby arrangements. In 1977, Pakistan received another standby arrangement of $80 million, but also entered into an extended fund facility, EFF, of $349 million. In the EFF was a longer-term loan that aimed to address structural problems in the economy, such as low growth, high inflation, or fiscal imbalances. Pakistan also received another EFF of $730 million. In the democratic era, Pakistan faced political instability and frequent changes of governments, which affected its economic performance and its ability to implement IMF reforms. Pakistan received 2 standby arrangements of $194 million and $88 million in 1988 and 1993 respectively, as well as 2 structural adjustment facility, SAF, commitments of $382 million and $606 million in 1988 and 1994 respectively. The SAF was a concessional loan that targeted low-income countries with protracted balance of payments problems. Pakistan also received 2 EFFs of $123 million and $114 million in 1994 and 1997 respectively. In the military rule and transition period, Pakistan faced external shocks such as the sanctions imposed by the US after its nuclear tests in 1998, the global financial crisis in 2008, and the war on terror that increased its security expenditures. Pakistan received a standby arrangement of $465 million in 2000, an extended credit facility, ECF, of $861 million in 2001, and another standby arrangement of $7.2 billion and the ECF was a successor to the SAF that provided flexible and tailored support to low-income countries. Pakistan also received an EFF of $4.4 billion in the recent challenges period. Pakistan faced persistent fiscal deficits, rising public debt, low tax revenues, weak exports, declining foreign exchange reserves, and a widening current account deficit. Pakistan received another EFF of $4.3 billion in 2019, which was later suspended due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The IMF also provided Pakistan with Rapid Financing Instrument, RFI, loans of $1.4 billion in 2020 and $500 million in 2021 to help it cope with the health and economic impacts of the crisis. In total, Pakistan has received 22 loans from the IMF since 1958, amounting to about $23.7 billion. However, not all of these loans were fully disbursed or completed, as Pakistan often faced difficulties in meeting the IMF's conditions or repaying its debts. As of February 2020, Pakistan's outstanding debt to the IMF was about $4.8 billion, which represents about 10% of its total external debt.